What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode, and in today's video we're taking a look at Travis Scott aka LaFlame and the controversy surrounding his BMW E30 M3 giveaway. Now before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to the homie Strain Beats who's been cooking up the beats for these videos, so make sure you guys check them out. And while you're here, you might as well drop a like and subscribe and join our free Discord to stay up to date with the latest and the greatest. Shout out to all of my chefs in there. Now to set the tone for today's video, we have to throw it back nearly 5 years to late 2019 as Travis would team up with his Cactus Jack label and drop the now iconic Jack Boys compilation album. And while I was reminiscing to this album last week, I would get word of an upcoming collaboration rumored to be between Cactus Jack and the famed Italian supercar giant Lamborghini. So with that said, I figured what better time to look back at the controversy surrounding Travis Scott's BMW giveaway and auction. And let me know in the comments whether or not you think Travis sold it or he still has his BMW today. What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode, and in today's video we're taking a look at none other than Travis Scott aka LaFlame and what the heck happened to the BMW M3 E30 giveaway and auction. Now if the car looks familiar, it's because it is. It was actually featured on the cover of Travis's now iconic Jack Boys album, which released a cool 4 freaking years ago in just a week or two. Travis, if you see this video, please release another album and let me know what your favorite song is off of it. And while doing my research for this video, I came across a ton of hate comments that actually surprised me. BMW collectors and M3 purists were not happy and mentioned that Travis and his team basically desecrated this classic car. Listen to the story of how it got into the hands of Travis's manager from this guy.
Podcast on and hear the whole story, how Paul basically runs into this famous rapper's manager of sorts, and they decide that this white E30 M3 that Paul was driving at the time was something that this rapper really needed in his life. $250,000 later, in 2019, this #1 condition E30 M3 no longer is owned by Paul and is in the care of Travis Scott. He's just getting ready to release another album and has some purpose of using some 90s vintage cars relative to his Cactus Jack album, and decides that it's a good idea to basically build the car the way that you would build a rally car by drilling a light bar into the hood, painting it, numbers on the side. Basically desecration of a historical artifact relative to the BMW community and E30 M3 surviving examples.
And after getting this special Beamer in their hands, the Cactus Jack team decided to take it over to the legendary West Coast Customs. Yup, the same shop that's famous for the MTV show Pimp My Ride, where they decided to pimp out this special Beamer for this album. And while doing my research for this one, I came across this funny Reddit post which talks about the process for buying the car. Travis's team bought the car for $250,000 in cash, which took over 5 hours to count because it was all paid in $20 bills. Talk about some rapper lifestyle type shit. Now, like I mentioned earlier in the video, we're just shy of 4 years since the release of Travis Scott's iconic Jack Boys album. And as with any great album release, of course you've got some great merch to go with it, at least if you're LaFlame. Now, as part of that merch drop, you had the opportunity to sign up for an auction to purchase this special BMW. And although it is very likely I will never be able to afford a whip like that, your boy of course had to sign up for it because you never know. And I would of course sell a kidney if I have to. And for something a little bit more reasonable for the rest of us ragers and people that aren't millionaires, they actually had a very limited and very cool Hot Wheels Cactus Jack Special Edition collection. Now, I myself didn't grow up really playing with too many Hot Wheels, but even I know that this one is super lit and super limited. And according to the actual draw and the actual website itself, it was so limited that it was only available for 3 lucky ragers. And they also go on to mention in the item description that these 3 custom Cactus Jack Hot Wheels were actually hand painted, which makes them even more special. And while researching, I was super curious if any of the winners ended up selling theirs online, if somebody wanted to get their hands on them today. However, I wasn't able to find any. Now, Travis himself tweeted the collection so you guys can see it here to give you an idea of what it would have looked like in real life, and again, I honestly think it's pretty raw. Now, in addition to the auction for the BMW as well as the giveaway for the Hot Wheels collection, they also had something for the big spenders out there. And that's right, if you've got an extra $6,500 and you want to match the flame, you can get these custom Cactus Jack Forgiato wheels, which for all my car people, again, you gotta let me know if this is worth it and if it's a good pickup. And although those Forgiato wheels are definitely the most expensive piece of Travis Scott merch to date, he also had a really cool collection with some affordable pieces that I thought you guys would appreciate. This one is definitely geared towards the car junkies and fans, and also features some cool Easter eggs that's part of the Jack Boys album. Now that mask there is actually featured on the album cover as well as some other promotional items. And keeping in line with the rest of the car accessories, you can also purchase some of the following. Now they did have that interesting JBL speaker as well as some classic dice that you can hang, as well as this car cover for a cool $250, but perhaps one of the most wild pieces of Travis Scott merch, which I'm not sure what you'd use it for as of late, is this Jack Boys riot shield. And I gotta know in the comments from you guys if this one is a cop or a drop. Personally, the way things are going here in Florida, I might need to pick one of those up myself one of these days. Now, in addition to that riot shield, we also have those cool racing gloves for a cool $50, and perhaps one of the coolest pieces of merch I've ever seen is this radar scanner. If you're not familiar, I'm pretty sure it basically alerts you to when there's other police radars in the area, so for those of you that are into the racing scene, it's a great tool to be ahead of the feds. Now, in addition to those initial Jack Boys Cactus Jack pieces, I also wanted to highlight some of the rest of the pieces available in this collection. They feature some of my favorite artworks and styles that are definitely more on the punk side of things and more up Travis Scott's alley if you've been following him throughout his career. And although this Cactus Jack Boys collection features some Travis Scott merch staples such as the socks, it also features some cool car accessories which are specific to this drop, such as the car steering wheel lock and just the overall aesthetic of the rest of these pieces. You'll notice that there's a lot of repetition when it comes to some of these merch pieces where it's just basically a different color for the actual print, which also features some type of graphic from the album and is also classic to Travis Scott's older and earlier merch pieces. Now, in general, I think that this era was definitely a lot friendlier for consumers before inflation went crazy. However, most prices nowadays are pretty consistent. Although the website mentions at the time that all of these pieces are sold out, most of the tees were not more than $55 to $65, and hoodies were pretty reasonable, up to $100 as well. Now, apart from the actual BMW giveaway and auction, I'd say that my favorite pieces or most memorable pieces were probably that racing helmet, maybe the ashtray, and some of the earlier pieces we looked at, including that neon mask. Overall, I think that this is a really raw collection, and it definitely plays into both the racing fans and the Travis Scott fans. Now, when it comes to what happened to the BMW, I'm sorry to say, from everything I've seen, it wasn't actually listed for auction. I wasn't able to see anywhere online that anyone actually owns it to this day, so in my opinion, it's probably still in the hands of Travis Scott. Now, the whole reason I'm bringing this up is that it kind of brings up a whole nother point when it comes to these raffles and what these artists are actually doing. Because according to some theories that have been floating around Reddit and Twitter the last few years, the majority of these Travis Scott raffles are actually bogus. Now, I've actually been lucky enough to hit on them a couple of years ago when they were actually first come first serve, but I've never actually met anyone to hit on the raffles. Although I do know that it happens, a lot of people theorize that more than likely the Cactus Jack team is just collecting their customer data and selling it. Majority of the time when you enter these raffles, you're just entering your email as well as your phone number and sometimes your address. And while on one hand you may be signing up for some Cactus Jack news and marketing updates, on the other hand you're also signing over consent for them to sell your user data to marketing agencies and ads as well. Now, with that being said, I feel like the best solution is to just produce enough products and enough sneakers for all the ragers and fans to get their hands on them. If there's enough to go around, nobody has to question the integrity of these drops and raffles. Now, if you made it this far in the video, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Personally, I think that Travis and his team ended up keeping that BMW and they never had any plans to let it go. As I saw from the most recent Complex article, it's still not been up for auction, and that was a whole 4 years ago. So I think it's safe to say it's still with the Cactus Jack team. If you like this video, let me know in the comments and let me know what you'd like to see me cover next. As always, guys, thank you so much for cooking with the kitchen. Remember to stay safe out there, and remember, it's lit, straight up, and peace.